Blue Lock chapter 308 has just released. We're back to Nagi Seishirou and what Buratsuta was planning to do with him, alongside a major U20 World Cup news regarding Itoshi Sae and the countries Japan is facing. I gotta say, this chapter low-key changes everything we knew in a very exciting way. There's a lot to talk about, so let's jump into it quick. Chapter begins with when we last saw Nagi Seishirou, who got approached by Buratsuta. I know some of y'all are tired of the constant Nagi Seishirou chapters, and I know it's kind of a buzzkill right after we got that whole Spain chapter with Isagi, Bunny, and Sae, but this is huge for his character because we learn about what Buratsuta was planning to ask Nagi after approaching him. Before any of that though, Nagi hits him with the "who are you?" question mark, and I'm hella weak. Ain't no way he thought Buratsuta was just some old man walking in the rain. Bro got humbled real quick. Nagi asks him what does he want from him, and per usual with Buratsuta, he's trying to use smooth words, asking him if he wants to take a Jinpachi ego down a peg. Adding that despite Nagi's talent, he still got dropped from the top 23, and if he is the only one who thinks that ego made the wrong call. Y'all, this guy needs to apply for the world's biggest liar. He needs to be on Survivor, because flashback a few days ago, this guy didn't even know why Nagi is popular. So ain't no way he knew about Nagi's skill. Nagi responds saying that he doesn't get it. What is Buratsuta talking about? And we get a huge reveal that the maximum number is not 23, but 26 players. So that means 3 more players are being added to the roster. We knew 23 was a little too odd, and now that opens up a possibility for more Japanese players to join. Obviously, this is a big opportunity for Nagi since he can rejoin Blue Lock if he takes that offer. Buratsuta basically explains that he had a promise with Ego to hand over the decision-making power of 3 representative members. I'ma keep it a buck though. If the roster was 26 instead of 23 in the NEL, Nagi would still be here anyways, since he was number 24. So technically, this is all Buratsuta's fault. Anyways, Buratsuta is saying that besides the 23 players from Ego, the 3 players he recommends will go to the U20 Japan team, which he's calling the Buratsuta 3. I cannot lie, the Buratsuta 3 sounds kinda tough. I messed with the name. Unfortunately, it just had to be the worst person possible. After explaining all of this, Buratsuta asks Nagi if he wants to join the Buratsuta 3, but there is 3 conditions. Number 1 being that he has to win the selection test in the project he planned, which I'm actually kind of curious about. What kind of test is Buratsuta of all people gonna make them do? The Ryan Trahan Penny series? Who can make the most money? He doesn't know anything about football. The second condition is that if he is selected, then all of his future football related management and contracts are left to him. And hearing that, I would have been out already. Knowing Buratsuta, Nagi about to enter that Tifu contract, 99% of earnings goes to him and 1% goes to charity. Nagi gets $0. The third and last condition is that if he goes back to Blue Lock, he has to play football to prove Ego's methods were wrong. And we get a crazy panel of Buratsuta's imagination Swiss cheesing Ego. You know how big of a hater you gotta be to imagine this? This is a football manga, by the way. How many times have Guns been in here? He learned a thing or two from Sendo. He adds that he wants to drive Ego into a corner so that he can take control of everything and become Blue Lock's representative. And another panel of him just transcending above the facility. Kanashiro really knows how to make you hate a character, because I think everyone just wants to punch this guy through the screen. This guy has been a D1 hater of Blue Lock since the beginning and now wants to take credit for it. I also gotta say, these conditions are really hinting towards one specific character who has a vendetta against Blue Lock. I really never thought I'd be saying this, but it sounds a lot like Kira Ryusuke. He was the only one to go against Ego's philosophy and he got kicked out of Blue Lock. It's actually a high probability since he was known as the Jewel of Japan, so he might be popular enough for Buratsuta to scout him. We also know Buratsuta likes popular players, hence why he approached Nagi in the first place. But it could easily be a new character, which I think would be just as exciting. Anyways, we'll save that discussion for later because now it's up to Nagi whether he wants to take a Buratsuta's deal to take over Blue Lock. And they gave this man an octopus aura. Very fitting for a a guy like him. Canonically, he has an aura before some of the Blue Lock top 23. Let's also place some bets on how many times Buratsuta practiced this pose in the mirror. I'm going at least 10 times. There is no way he did something like this on the spot. We cut over to Nagi, who asks himself about the offer, saying he can go back to Blue Lock with all of them, as we see him think about Isagi, Rin, and Ryo. It's time, folks. Is Nagi Seishirou already going back to Blue Lock? The Nagi fans are praying he makes it, and the Nagi haters are praying he doesn't. Nagi's answer is an astounding no, saying that he can as he looks down with zero emotions in his eyes. Buratsuta is confused and insert the sad music, because with the rain falling down and the ball sitting there, Nagi says that ego is not wrong. And this man Buratsuta starts screeching like a banshee, asking why he came back in the first place if he doesn't think he's wrong, and doesn't he still want to play? Nagi responds saying that ego created Blue Lock, and if Blue Lock didn't exist, he couldn't get fired up like he used to, with the flashback to Isagi and Ryo. Man, this guy Buratsuta is obviously pissed, asking Nagi if he's making excuses, and adding that ego is a heartless piece of crap leader with no human decency. Is every Blue Lock character just out of pocket? Ego is a little extreme at times, but when you got Buratsuta of all people saying something like this message loses all credibility. And in an amazing, almost tear-jerking moment, Nagi talks about how he can't betray Blue Lock. It's always been burning with passion because ego is the person there. I feel like One Piece fans when the Straw Hats say Luffy is gonna be the king of the pirates. Big ups to Nagi, rejecting an offer to come back and standing on business just to protect ego, even after that whole Omni-Man speech tearing him apart. However, Nagi said the last words Buratsuta wants to hear because he got veins popping out and everything. And nah, Buratsuta is actually a villain because he says, yeah, you're just protecting your own heart like that while kicking water at him. You know how deranged you gotta be to kick water at a 17-year-old? Like I said, D1 hater. And he is just putting the nail in the coffin because he talks about how Nagi is a shell of his former self, who was amazing back then, not being able to update himself to another peak, ending it off saying he's a pride-bloated fool. And I know Buratsuta enunciated that fool part, and Nagi still has zero emotions in his eyes, giving him a side eye. I just gotta say, even if you're a Nagi hater, you gotta feel bad for bro. He did stand on business. If Nagi not coming back to Blue Lock and a potential 3 new characters joining the team was not enough content for you, Buratsuta's phone starts ringing, and it's none other than the one and only Itoshi Sae on the other side. And this got me hyped. It's still a mystery whether he will play for Japan or not, and with the Buratsuta 3, he now has an actual path to playing. So now it's time for Sae's decision whether he will join or not. And first frame, bro is just aura farming, sitting on the couch, telling Buratsuta that the World Cup groups have been decided. This chapter is just giving us everything, man. The gift that keeps on giving. It's revealed that for Japan's group, we got Nigeria, England, and France. Bruh, we already going up against France. We know this about to be a generational matchup because they showing Loki and Charles here. Even Buratsuta knows that France is an Avengers level threat because he starts panicking about how France is the strongest, explaining the rules that you can't advance to the final tournament unless you're second place or higher. And then we see Buratsuta tell Sae that one of the 3 spots is already reserved for him, with the biggest grin on his face. But hold up, Itoshi Sae has something to say. As Itoshi Sae reveals he's not playing in the group stage. What is even going on anymore? Buratsuta is just as confused as me, and Sae says that the reason he's joining the U20 World Cup is only to fight Spain, as he looks at the TV with Bunny still there. This might just be the craziest hate watching I've ever seen. He immediately hopped hooked on the phone call after seeing Bunny pull out that Shaolin soccer from last chapter, and I'm talking seconds, because bro is still hitting that same goal celebration. And the only reason he's playing is to go against Spain, so Buratsuta has no choice but to let him do what he wants because, you know, it's Itoshi Sae, saying that he'll keep a spot open for him. Sae then drops some final boss dialogue, talking about how he'll play as long as he doesn't change his mind. They'll have to win without him or it won't matter anyway. Ending off his dialogue saying, "You need ambition so strong that even BLUELOCK would just be a springboard. Only those with an ego as big can win." Buratsuta smiles, Nagi is left in the rain, and the chapter ends off there. Absolute cinema chapter. So many big things were revealed. We got Nagi confirmed and not joining the U20. 3 more players will be added for Japan, and the countries for the group stages, as well as Itoshi Sae only joining against Spain. I'm loving the fact that every single chapter feels so new and not repetitive. Let's start with Nagi and not joining the U20 World Cup. I know, a big loss for the Nagi fans. I do think it is a little too early to bring him back. It would make his elimination feel a little redundant, and I'm glad that Nagi is sticking up for ego and rejecting Buratsuta, even if that means he can't play. We'll still see Nagi in the future, so don't worry, Nagi fans, but right now, I think he's taking a back seat. Let's talk about something I know y'all are dying to talk about, the Buratsuta 3. Now, genuinely, who could these players be? It seems one slot is already safe for Itoshi Sae, so we have 2 more open spots. My prediction, I think one spot is gonna be saved for a 3rd goalkeeper, who will probably never be played because we have Gagamaru, and God forbid, maybe we have Fukaku again, but it makes sense to meet the 3rd goalkeeper requirement, or having 3 goalkeepers that's needed in World Cup rosters. So that could be a big possibility for a player, which leaves 1 more person, and it's not Nagi, so who could it be? I touched on it earlier, but Kira does fit the qualifications, and I know a lot of people do want to see him back. I could care less if Kira came back or not. I do think it would be interesting to see how he would mesh with the current BLUELOCK, or if he's just gonna embarrass himself again. They could also introduce a new character, which I'm down for as well, someone that just didn't get scouted for BLUELOCK. We know there was a lot of hidden gems in Japan, as proven with BLUELOCK, so maybe there's just 1 extra player that Buratsuta picks up. A completely new face. I'm honestly kind of excited to see who these players are, or even the test that Buratsuta is gonna put them through. Somehow, we're gonna get the Buratsuta wildcard before the Kunigami wildcard. I don't even know at this point, man. I don't think we're ever gonna get that, but I do want to know who y'all think are gonna join. I've seen some people say Igaguri because he's the author's favorite character. Some of y'all were saying Aomori's Messi or Iemon, the Team Z goalkeeper. At this point, BLUELOCK is filled with so many surprises, I can't even say this is rage bait. Lastly, let's talk about Sae and the World Cup matchups. It looks like the biggest country they're going up against is France with Loki and Charles. Loki, obviously, is like the peak of U20, and let's be honest, we know by plot, Japan and France are both making it out of the 4, but I gotta show some love to Nigeria and England as well. I have a weird feeling that they'll mirror the first election where they lose to a lesser team or not France, and then they have to beat France in order to qualify, just like how they had to beat Team V. That might just be a tinfoil hat theory though. It is still way too early to call. We don't know the Nigeria, England, or full France team yet. Sae joining but only against Spain is crazy. I wonder if that means we won't get his backstory with Bunny and Spain until that match. I really hope not, because that's going to be a very long time from now. He also said something about using BLUELOCK to fulfill his dream, so that's very interesting. I've said it before, but I do think Sae is one of the more interesting characters in BLUELOCK, so I'm excited to see what they do with him. That about wraps it up for this chapter review, though. Actual generational chapter with so many things revealed. These chapters are going to be good, so make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with everything BLUELOCK. YouTube also really thinks you'd like this video right here, so be sure to check that out. And if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see y'all in the next one.